Hello viewers from wherever you're watching us from around the world. Welcome to your weekly State of Affairs program here on QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Karaba Avenue. My name is Alu Sese, and this week we're looking at a very important sector, which is the agriculture sector. As you have been following developments, the Gambia government says it is taking a major strides to transform this sector in addressing food security and meeting the nutritional needs of the people. The government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, is currently implementing several projects towards achieving this. However, despite these efforts by the Gambia government, the Gambia's high dependence on imports for staple and key commodities has deepened the country's vulnerability to external shocks, such as the effect of the COVID-19 and, of course, the impact of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war crisis on food supply system. Well, my guest this week, I have the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Demba Sabally. Dr. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And also in the studio, we have Mr. Modou Njie, who is the Secretary General of the Gambia Farmers Union. Mr. Njie, good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Sise.
Thank you so much. Mr. Njie, at this last State of the Nation address, the President said, and I quote, "The agriculture sector is strongly committed to strengthening its policy environment and program implementation efforts. In this respect, emerging challenges will be persistently addressed through policies and initiatives." Honorable Minister,
yes.
What are these policies and initiatives?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise, and thank you to all our viewers, especially to all our great Gambian farmers that are out there, and all those agricultural investors that are everywhere in this country. And thanks to the staff at the Ministry of Agriculture and all our extended stakeholders nationwide. Like His Excellency President said at the SONA, that challenges will be tackled through policies as they come. And one of the major policy and that's just being worked on or almost being rolled out, we call it the GAMISAL. And GAMISAL is risk sharing agricultural financing mechanism. Because what we realize is most of our farmers or young people, they want to go to farming, but they don't have the equipment or the capital or the funding source to start agricultural business. And if they go to the bank, the requirements are stiff. They ask for compounds, they ask for a lot of... So GAMISAL is going to be a project under the Ministry of Agriculture where they are going to guarantee the loan. Let's say, for example, if Mr. Njie want to take an agricultural loan from the bank would almost just be taking 20% risk, and the project, which is going to be GAMISAL, is going to take almost 80% risk. So it's like a risk sharing, and that is going to spread out the possibilities, and almost every young farmer can access all these private banks and financial institutions to be able to access loan and get into agriculture. That's one of the policies that His Excellency was alluding. But of course, there are newer ones like the fertilizer policy. This the first time Gambia is going to have a fertilizer policy, and this is going to stress on organic fertilizer. It's going to talk about rules, importation, exportation, management, storage, and a lot of the risks associated with overuse on the application. So the fertilizer policy is almost done. But also what he was addressing was also the livestock master plan, which we just launched. The livestock master plan is a 5-year and a 15-year master plan that is costed, and it's kind of looked at all our small ruminants, also looked at our beef industry, also looked at our abattoir at Abuko, which is almost 50 years old now, and the possibility of building a new halal abattoir.
And you talked about the issue of the fertilizer policy, and of course, the other policy does look at how best you can support, especially young farmers.
Sure.
How far have you gone in that aspect, in terms of the implementation?
Well, actually, support for young farmers is already ongoing because, as you are aware, one of our flagship projects, that is the Roots project, one of its major components is youth matching grant. And I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing about this youth matching grant. And also the other projects like the regional rice value, they've been supporting young, especially rice farmers in the country nationwide. So that's already ongoing for youth assistance. In fact, this year, for the first time, we are going to start piloting what we call youth farms. And already the plan is on foot. Land have been identified, and we are securing support from the Roots project for the plowing, but I'm sure we'll get into those details as we go.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let me now bring in Mr. Njie here. You're the Secretary General of the Gambia Farmers Union. For someone who's watching this program might be asking, Gambia Farmers Union. What can you tell us about this Gambia Farmers Union? How did this idea came about, and what are your aims and objectives?
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I say thanks to all the farmers who are listening to you and all the guys who are in the studio, especially our honorable minister, I will say our able minister.
Yeah.
Because he's a lion, because of I see some development that he is working right now. If you say Gambia Farmers Union, so you say you want to know who is Gambia Farmers Union.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to know, because of our real objective is to try to develop how we can do to our life easy, like even our foods. Right now we are complaining expensive food. I think our big objective is to finish that.
And how many farmers are in this union as we speak?
Executive or all the
members?
I think it's more than 400. It's more than 400 right now. It's more than, because we have all the regions. All the regions are in the farm, are in the forum.
So how does one become a member of this union? For example, I'm a farmer from Nyomi. I want to be part of the union. I mean, what are the criteria that I need to meet before I become a member?
Yes, I will say depend for the constitution, because if you want to join the farmers, you have to be registered. The registration is 200, but we choose only the farmers and some who are engaging about the agricultural system. If in the businessman, if they're working like say businessing like our crops, you can be join a farmers. You can join a farmers union, but the farmers themselves, we know each other. Even if you are a businessman, then you don't business about the farming system. You don't qualify to join the farmers union. But the farmers union know all the regions of the Gambia, and then the farmers know each other. Even sometimes I went some places to talk with some members or some big farmers, so tell them how we can do to develop the Gambia, because we know we are the only farmers can develop the Gambia, because the constitution said agriculture is our backbone of the countries. So that's why we have to try to be together to develop the Gambia. Without that, we cannot move. We all know that. That's why we mobilize ourselves, try to be a farmers union.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai. And coming back to you, Honorable Minister, I mean, we are almost into the farming season. I mean, yes. When you talk to farmers, first thing that comes to their mind is farming equipment, fertilizer. What is your ministry doing this time around, Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise. Actually, the ministry has done extremely great, especially for 2023. Because for the first time, government, with assistance from His Excellency at Office of the President, Ministry of Finance, Agriculture put together, we've successfully brought in about 35,000 metric tons of chemical fertilizer, that is urea and NPK. And also for the first time, we have ordered and now started to distribute 6,000 tons of organic fertilizer, because we think there are farmers that are thinking of going organic because of some European markets. So yes, we've got enough fertilizer in the country, but again, the fertilizer price is extremely attractive, because this year we procured fertilizer at about almost $750, which will be around $2,300, $2,400 per bag. But at a highly subsidized price, the government is selling it to the farmers at $1,150 per bag. So the fertilizer is highly subsidized by the government, and all this is geared towards helping the farmers, because studies have shown that the proportion of application of fertilizer to productivity is correlated. So we want to be sure that our farmers this year access as much fertilizer as possible, access as much varieties as possible, and then apply so that our productivity can increase. And this is the surest way, like the Secretary of Farmers Union said, the surest way to develop Gambia, sustainable way, is to develop agriculture.
And what about farming equipment?
Yes, very, very good question. Actually, this year, their regional right value has distributed over 30 power tillers. In fact, they've also distributed about 6 tractors. They are yet to even distribute them. They are just assembling them at our plant. But as far as mechanization is concerned, we have about 50 tractors under the Ministry of Agriculture. 20 of them are stationed permanently at CRR South and North, that is being operated by Maru Farms with an MOU with the government. And they are primarily supporting rice farmers in CRR and North and South. The other 30 tractors are strategically distributed nationwide. And those ones, farmers can access them to do plowing for them at about $2,500 per hectare. And in our local villages, we say per rope. And per rope is 4 ropes make a hectare. So they know the breakdown is about $625 per rope. So the tractors have all been maintained already. They already starting operation, and those ones are strategically distributed nationwide.
Mr. Yah, I know you must be very happy. I mean, hearing the minister making this pronouncement. I mean, subsidizing fertilizer for at $1,100 is.
That's true. We will thank him again. Even that price is $1,150. All the farmers are happy for that. Very, very happy for that price, because we was expect more than that. And that's why we are the Farmers Union. We thank them a lot. But we will tell them that only farmers cannot, only fertilizer cannot farm.
Okay.
Because we require a lot, like what he mentioned about the tractors and others and others. We're very happy to hear him to mention about the tractors, even the URR and CRR. But I don't hear North Bank.
Well, I understand you recently met with the president to thank him for
yes, of course.
This fertilizer subsidy.
That's true. That was very. It was joy for the farmers, because what we was not expecting. As I can say, right now the farmers was have a big hope for the government, but last year the problem was about the Ukraine war. The farmers start to lose hope. But this time, I can say the President Barrow pulled the farmers to come back again, 100% with his minister. Right now, the farmers are preparing well. Some farmers are start the rainy season, but some are waiting, like the half of North Bank and others. But the other side, they already start. The crops are start to growing, but it's still now we need a lot, because what I can say right now, we need materials and market. And still we cannot have that enough. But I think we will expect for the Honorable Minister for his job. Perhaps 1 year or 2 years, we will have a lot, or especially the amount what we need for the materials and the markets.
Minister, I mean, you mentioned the issue of the subsidy
Yes.
of fertilizer. I mean, we have realized, I mean, in most cases, businessmen tend to use this opportunity to buy bulk of this subsidized fertilizer,
Right.
and in turn
Yes.
sell it at a higher prices, and some will even take it outside of the country
Right.
to sell it, and the blame comes back to the government.
Right.
What will you do to make sure this doesn't happen this time around?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise. This is a very important question, and I want to make it very clear. The 1,150 is the price from Banjul to Basse. Every dealer has a margin, and the margin is their profit, and that does not affect the 150. If you are selling fertilizer in Diabugu or you are selling fertilizer in Bondali, you should still sell it at 1,150 to the farmer. Your profit margin has already been calculated by GGC. There is a margin of $60 or $70 depending on the location. So they get a discounted rate for being a wholesaler to sell it to a standard price to every Gambian farmer at the same price. And as far as the buying in bulk and possibility of trans-border sales, is very unlikely, because I am in constant conversation with my counterpart in Senegal. And when we were setting the price, we had to put all these factors into consideration. Yeah. Senegal has a 2-tier pricing. And the 2-tier pricing is they have a fertilizer that they sell at 1,100, and they have the other one, they are selling it at 1,250. So imagine getting a bag of urea in the Gambia at 1,150. You want to take that across the border to sell it at 1,250. Imagine the transport cost, the risk and everything. It would not make business sense. And if they are selling urea at 1,100 across the border, and Gambia is selling it at 1,150, it would not make business sense for you to bring it across to the Gambia and sell it for 1,150. $50 it would just be eaten up in the transport cost. But the risk of being arrested and so many other factors. So we've looked at all that. And of course, we've also informed the police and our farmers. I told them when they met His Excellency the President that they are our fertilizer police and the general public also to guide it, because it is our Gambian money that was put into this. The level of subsidy, it's in millions. So don't watch this thing go, across the border. I mean, let everybody be a patriotic Gambian to understand that this is meant to be applied on Gambian soil for Gambian agricultural productivity.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing also that we have seen, you talk about, 1,150.
Yeah.
Does it also applies in Basse?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing also that we have seen, in most cases, you will realize that some farmers who are better off than others, will tend to buy more than those who cannot afford it.
Yes. That's true. But the price will be the same. Okay. If you are a small farmer, you only need 1 bag or 2 bags, you buy 1 bag, 2 bags. If you are a big farmer, you need 300 bags, please buy 300 bags. The amount of fertilizer we have in the country, there is no way it can be finished. 35,000. Last year, this country consumed not more than 15,000. So to have 35,000.
Was it because of the price as well?
Yes.
But at least this time it's lesser.
Exactly.
So definitely you expect more people to buy fertilizer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in any case, there is no way to finish. At the end of the day, all we want is whatever amount you buy, please apply it on your farm in the Gambia to increase our productivity. That's the goal. We are not restricting any farmer to buy 20 or 30. As long as you have that amount of hectarage, buy enough fertilizer that is going to serve your needs. And if you're a small farmer, buy what serves your need. But the price in Basse is the same price in Banjul, is the same price in Bara. Let no dealers sell fertilizer to you for more than 1,150.
Is there going to be any cap limit? For example, I'm just giving an example. You take, for example, 1,000 bags of fertilizer to Lower River region, where you have perhaps 2,000 farmers. You tend to have someone who will come to buy maybe 10 bags, 20 bags. Is there a cap that each farmer can buy at a point to allow everyone to get the fertilizer?
Well, actually, the dealers, majority of the dealers are the cooperative societies.
Okay.
And the cooperative societies, they tend to know each other. They know all the farmers. Look, it will not be reasonable. I am a farmer. I have 6-hectare farm. If I go to buy fertilizer in Bondali and I want to buy 100 bags, definitely they would understand that something nefarious. Maybe I'm taking this across the border or something. So, like we said, those people have also been informed of all those things to look out for. But in reality, we don't want to be so restrictive that it will affect the productivity of the farmers. But nonetheless, there are clues that people should watch out for. And when they don't make sense, then they don't really make sense.
And Mr. Njai, what's your take on what the minister has just said regarding monitoring the way this fertilizer will be sold to farmers?
Very happy for what I heard from him. Even we went to the State House, I think last Friday or before.
Yeah.
We call our members around all the Gambia and say that, even what he has said exactly, we are the police for ourselves. We have to protect the fertilizer. And then we say that to the forum and other medias, the fertilizer, we have no tolerance for that. Anyone which you see who will take the fertilizer out of the country, we will not compromise for that. Of course, we direct contact the police and other stakeholders and then try to confuse that, try to take that fertilizer. Because of, that if you try to lose that fertilizer, it means we are disturbing ourselves, especially last year. Because some fertilizers, there was complaint it was going out. That's why the amount of fertilizer that was needed, we cannot have it. Even what we think, this fertilizer, we can be use it for 2 years, because 35,000 tons is not a small amount. And then for something that he was explaining, year before last, we thanks MD Mr. Njai for that very well, because he done a lot. The farmers, if they was decided to buy fertilizer, it was very difficult. Like was asking about the ID card, and then you must go to Bara and other places, other depots. It was very difficult, and then it was limited. You must be buy for 10 bags, and then I myself, I have to buy 100 bags. They tell you have to be, you should to buy 10 bags. So that's not possible. But this time, it is very easy for the farmers. They take it all for the to the deposit. you can come and buy 100 bag or 50 bag or 10 bag, the amount that you need. And then that's the number one. Even that, this is what you was need before. And then we thank for them a lot for that.
As the Secretary General of the Farmers Union,
yes.
How much has the issue of fertilizer affected farmers in this country?
Yeah, this year we will be very happy because the fertilizer are in the depots, and then in the sectors, the farmers are buying this time. But what I can say, 99% of the farmers, if they don't take the loan, they cannot get the fertilizer. 100%. Even I myself, because of the season that we came from, the rainy season last year, it was very fair for us. But this time, we are trying, but we cannot buy it well. Lack of money. So right now we need support. So the minister, he's doing well, but still we need to.
Are you asking for more subsidy? You know, I know the family knows what I'm talking about. You know, farmers and fertilizer.
Yeah.
The perhaps they only want it free now.
We are trying well, but the amount what we need to buy, we cannot have it this time.
Honorable.
Yes.
Is this something you are looking at?
Well,
providing free fertilizer to farmers.
Well, that's our wish as a country.
Yes,
but if we had oil wells and gold and diamond, we would sell that and buy for and give it to them. But unfortunately, that's not where we are. And unfortunately, that does not obtain in most countries. And the price, they themselves, they are very, very happy this year.
That's true.
I think what he's trying to complain is, or talk about, is accessing loans so that they can buy generally agricultural equipment, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's seeder, whether it's a tractor, generally it's access to loans so that they can buy this thing because of their last season. And like I said, there are many facilities. Those in animal, they are accessing it through the small ruminant. Those in crop, they are using the matching grant with roots. Some others are going to the commercial bank. The commercial banks are still a challenge, but we think that once this project Gamisar rolls out, trying to absorb as much risk as possible from the loans, I think their access to financing will improve, definitely.
Is it not possible to have fertilizer below 1,000? If I'm right, I think 2 years ago at some point it was around 700. Last year it went to around 2,000. This time it has dropped to 1,150.
Right.
What is responsible for this changes?
Yeah. Very good question. If you just do a simple Google search, it would almost tell you when the fertilizer price in the Gambia was at 700, that ton was somewhere around 320, 340 US dollars per ton. In 2022, because of the Ukraine-Russia issue and so many other things, that ton was in the excess of $1,000. Fortunately, this year it came down to somewhere in the neighborhood of 700, and that's why we were able to also come down. So a greater factor of repricing, of course, subsidy helps a lot, but also the world price of fertilizer determines a lot of the other factors. So when it was being sold at 700, if you look at the world market for price fertilizer, it was in the lower 300-400 per ton. This year is 700 to 750. That's why we are around that 1,150. Last year it was a lot higher. So that also determines the price we sell to farmers. But nonetheless, they've been well cushioned this year with the subsidy. So the 1,150 was a surprise to them. Some of them were even calling me before the price and say, "Ñun guys, suñ ko amé junni ak juromi téeméer dina ba." 1,500 would have been good for most of them. So it was a surprise price for them, actually.
And Mr. Njai, I mean, as a union, I mean, how will you rate, I mean, agriculture or farming in the Gambia compared to maybe 2 decades ago or maybe a decade ago?
Yeah, what I can say this time, we are moving, but very small. Because of what I can realize, I think 10 years ago, it was very difficult because of the price of the granite and the price of the fertilizer. But this time, it's about to be close, but we don't know exactly what we're gonna sell our price of granite again.
But people were more involved in agriculture back then.
Again?
I say people were more involved in agriculture
That's true.
farming.
That's true.
10 years ago.
That's true. The problem, last 4 years or 5 years ago, the farmers was have a very hope for the government, but because of the price of groundnut that we was having, it was good, like $32 and $36. It was better, but before the price was very low, and then the price of the fertilizer was cost, because time before you have a kilo of groundnut $18, $12. That's too small. You cannot do for that nothing. But this time we will have last year 36. Even that price was small for us because of the high cost of the fertilizer and then and other materials, because we are not buying only fertilizer, because farming in general is our life. Because if you cannot have enough good price of groundnut, it means we are about to fail. But these 2 years, 3 years is better, but we need more better.
Honorable, I mean, I guess you understand what is done put across there.
Yes,
I mean,
definitely.
they still need more.
That's
I mean,
true.
In one of your interviews, I mean, you said it's high time that the Gambia start moving from subsistence farming to mechanized or commercial farming, as you put it.
Right.
Where do we start?
Well, we have bottlenecks, but we are progressing in that direction. And one of the directions that is going to get us there is the involvement of the private sector. Because even in the most advanced countries where farmers are fairly wealthy, it's the private sector that takes the lead in agricultural transformation. And that is why in most of our projects, you will see this issue of matching grant. You are an entrepreneur, you go into farming, then you use your capital, and then we match your capital just to help boost you up. So already we are into several PPPs, and the most famous one is Maru Farms. I'm sure you know about Maru.
In CRR.
In CRR South. And he's a producer, and also he mills, and also he markets. We have other private players like Salif Malo and Sons. We have Mira Farms. We have Kunta Farms. We have a couple of PPPs. These are Gambians, young, who most of them used to live in the US and the UK, come back to the Gambia, and they are investing their capital purely in agriculture. And because of their focus, we are trying to support them. And in fact, we are supporting them very well. Most of these ones I named have benefited from a giraffe matching grant, and some of the matching grants are in a couple of millions, and they are free. It's a grant. So we are using the private sector route to transform our agriculture. And I think that has already started. It needs to be widespread. We need a lot more young Gambians into the arena, but it's already started.
But do you think that is enough, just having the private sector leading, I mean, the agriculture sector? I mean, previously, perhaps, I mean, 20 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people were much more involved into farming. People were so proud to be farmers.
Yes.
People were not only producing to feed themselves, but people were even selling.
Yes. Actually,
what has changed? What has changed all of a sudden? Is it because
so
of the migration?
Couple of things. Well, let me just get the records right. Yeah. We are more productive today as a country than we were 20 years ago. Yeah. Perception-wise, there was more land under cultivation. Let's say 20 years ago, you probably had 68,000 hectares under cultivation for groundnut or something. Today, the hectare have shrinked less, but the amount of tons that the country produces is higher than what it was in rice and in peanuts. And yes, the hectares have shrunk because of so many factors. One is land. You see, land is the greatest challenge to agriculture in this country. Our land tenure system makes land ownership a traditional thing. So even if you today have your capital and you want to go into agriculture, you will really face challenges of acquiring enough land. For example, Mohamed Jah of QTV, your writer here, a greatly passionate about agriculture. He loves agriculture and he's into it. It's taken us almost a year plus to finalize documentation for him to just acquire the land to start rice production. He wants to start with about 1,000 hectares. His eventual plan is to go into 10,000 hectares. But even to acquire that 1,000 hectares, it's tough. So if it can be tough for somebody as genuine as Mr. Jah, can you imagine what another Gambia? So the land acquisition and the land tenure system It's a major challenge. And I think that's what got us here. And again, the youth population.
Migration.
There's a lot of migration, but also a lot of aged farmers. Our farmers, majority of them have aged, and they are not being replaced by the young people. So I think we need a national reset, a national mindset that agriculture is business, agriculture is entrepreneurial, and that the young people can be wealthy by being into agriculture. And agriculture is the only one you can never be ex. Like ex-president, ex-minister, ex-that. You can be a great farmer and be a wealthy man and drive a Range Rover, and you can never be an ex-this, ex-that. So I think the call is clarion for every young Gambian to get to the land.
Interesting. You can be an ex-president, but you can't be an ex-farmer. So I hope the likes of Yusuf Ture, who works here, will certainly go back and start, going back to the farm. Well, viewers, you're watching QTV State of Affairs here on QTV. My name is Aliou Ceesay, and my guest this week, Dr. Demba Sabally, Minister of Agriculture, and Modou Njie, Secretary General of the Gambia Farmers Union. We will go with a short break, and when we return, discussion continues. Do stay tuned.
Technology has always been at the forefront of our lives, and the way we use it has evolved drastically over the years. With the advent of 5G internet, we are entering a new era of technological innovation that promises to transform the way we live, work, and play. 5G internet is capable of providing data speeds up to 100 times faster than 4G, making it the ideal solution for streaming high-quality videos, playing online games, and downloading large files on the go. 5G internet is already transforming cities across the globe, powering smart cities, self-driving cars, and virtual reality experiences that were once thought impossible. 5G internet is also paving the way for Internet of Things, allowing for seamless connectivity between devices and the creation of a truly connected world. For the first time in the Gambia, QCell is bringing tomorrow's technology to you today with the launch of QCell 5G Internet. Get ready to experience the out-of-this-world wonders of QCell's 5G Internet. For more information, call 111. QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Hello viewers, welcome back from that short break. You are watching QTV State of Affairs here on QTV. We are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Ceesay, and our guest this week, Dr. Demba Sabally, the Gambia's Minister of Agriculture, and Mr. Modou Njie, who is the Secretary General of the Gambia Farmers Union. Mr. Njie, you have heard from the Honorable Minister talking about the need for us to reset the button, to have more young people go into agriculture. What's your take on that?
That's very true. The best thing what I say for that, let's try to be agriculture to be very rich. If the agriculture rich, all the youths are coming for the agriculture. I think it's very easy. But if we continue like this, sometime you will get, maybe you will get or you lose, the agriculture will be going down. So let's try to be modernize the agriculture and then try to have good materials. And then if you cannot have good materials like the materials that we mean to see at this time, like the tractors and other materials, I think we will have a good agriculture. Without that, we will again go back, because the work right now is not easy. And then right now, we cannot continue for working physically always, like to use our power. Right now, the agriculture that is required this time, I'm very happy to hear that Mr. Jah is engaging about agriculture, like for rice, because it's very good. Even I say that before, we have to the private companies should come for the agriculture, because they have the capacity and they have the money. They have money to can farm lot of hectares. As a young farmer, cannot do that, because if I want to farm like 1,000 hectares. It will be very difficult for me without your support. Yes. That's why we need that 100%. And then if you try to have like Mr. Jah and others to coming to the farming system, even the ground and others, and then I think the market will be very good. But for the only farmers for themselves, they cannot bring the market 100% for like these materials. But if you have the good materials, I think we can move it. We can move the agriculture for the.
Mr. Njie, as a union, how do you engage farmers across the country? On some of the activities that you do, and of course, some of the interventions that the government has done, like the subsidy of fertilizer. How do you engage farmers in the country?
Well, we'll talk with them always, even the medias, radios, and other medias to try to be good, have a good season to avoid what we spoil this the rainy season, how we can to move well, and then we will talk to them always.
Honorable, I want to come in here. Gambia people will say anytime when you talk about agriculture, minds go to Jahali Pachar. I mean, what's your ministry doing to revive that area?
Good question. I don't know if you spoke probably with the MP but that is his favorite question in the National Assembly.
Okay.
What are you doing for Jahali Pachar?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jahali Pachar and the environs.
I remember some months ago you visited the area during one of your tours.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Well, this year alone, the Roots project is plowing for 80% cost at the ministry, and the farmer will only pay 20%, 2,467 hectares. And this is almost nationwide, but a bulk of it is going to be in the Jahal Pachar area. Because plowing is the greatest challenge to these farmers. It's 2,500 per hectare. If the government is going to pay 80%, can you imagine how much are they paying? It's almost like $400 or $500 per hectare. So this is one thing that we are doing. Another thing that we have already started is the free distribution of rice seeds. And these rice seeds, not only for Jahali and Pachar, it's for the entire country. And this rice, the good thing about it is, one, it is very high yield. It can yield you up to 7 tons per hectare, unlike our traditional rice seeds that we have 3 tons per hectare. And again, these rice seeds that we are distributing, it is flood resistant. And also, there are seeds that are salt tolerant. And since these are being distributed for free, we are calling on farmers to adapt those seeds. And in fact, adaptation to new technologies is one of our challenges. Again, in Jahali Pachar and the environment, not Jahali specifically, but in CRR and nationwide, the government is distributing free seeds of maize. And I think we are distributing 150 metric tons of rice and about 100 metric tons of early maturing high yield maize. And this is the maize that you will see with about 3 cups or at a minimum 2 cups. And all these are being distributed for free. And this is happening in CRR, North Bank, LRR, and in all the areas. But Jahali specifically, since the question is specifically for Jahali, that is where we have the 20 tractors specifically being managed by Maru Farms so that plowing is done on time. They are getting seeds for free. And in fact, during the dry season, we supported all the pumping stations with about, on average, 150 liters monthly to be able to pump water from the River Gambia to make sure irrigation is happening. We did that in Farabale and in Nyanta. This is in the Makati area. We did this in Kosemar. We did this in Damfakunda. You know, all this was for dry season rice production. And the dry season rice production this year was a bumper harvest. So the rainy season production have started already. And Jahali, like I said, plowing support, seed support, fertilizer support. And for the rice farmers, even the fertilizer was free. Not even the 1,150. Okay. For them, it was free fertilizer given by the Rice Value Chain Project.
Still people will say, under this sector, millions of dollars have come in to support the agriculture sector. That's from Jawara's era to Jame and now to President Barrow. Where do you think we have gone wrong in the past? Certainly, we have to be fair with you. Most of the problems are inherited. Certainly some things might not have been right in the past. That is really hampering what you're doing right now. Where do you think we have gone wrong in the past? Certainly, we had a former president came with the Vision 2016 self-sufficiency. It never mattered. It failed. What went wrong in your own opinion?
Very, very good question. Agriculture, when you look at it, sometimes they have the highest number of PhDs or highest number of masters in the ministry or the department. Our problem, I think, we have missed the point. That is, today as we speak, this country has only one irrigation engineer. So even if you have 200 PhDs, but you cannot even fix a pump that is going to irrigate the fields. How good will that do to the country?
Really?
So, yes. This is on television. So we have been building capacity, but also we have not been specific. That's why I'm in collaboration with the Minister of Higher Education to give him a list of these areas that we need to strengthen. And irrigation engineers are the bedrock of productivity, especially for rice. You can be an engineer and go and build homes or do something, but if he says irrigation engineers, agricultural engineers, these are specialties, and those specialties have not been around, or very few, and that has been an issue. And I think for us, identified that already, and we are working with partners to train our people on areas that really, really need training. And even operators, as basic as tractor operators, there was none, a formal place where people can go and learn to be a tractor operator. I mean, you just buy a tractor and get your brother, it will just run for 6 months, 1 year, it is down. Maybe with just a small part. Most of our mechanics here have been focused on our regular cars. So even to maintain our fleets is a challenge. So I think capacity, not to be, but to say we probably have missed the point in that area. And another thing is because agriculture hasn't moved because of the mindset of the country that whoever goes to school, even if you stop at grade 9 or grade 12, that you should not be a farmer.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that is something that we needed to discuss as a country. That needed to be emphasized.
Yes, sir.
From grade 1, that when children are growing, let's orientate them. We should not orientate our children that when you grow up, you should be working at an office.
That's right.
I don't want to mention agencies, but most of you young people here, when you are going to school, the prayers was you probably will go to GRA or you will go to Gamtel and other places, or you will just finish and your dad will help you go abroad. So I think the orientation should have been very early, that as a country, let us focus on selling agriculture as an agenda. And I think agriculture hasn't moved despite all this million because of sustainability. The projects will come, they are designed, they are implemented, sometimes not in...
I will counter that.
Yes.
I will counter that issue of sustainability. Mr. Njai, I mean, I saw you nodding your head when the minister was talking about,
That's
mentality
true.
and, and all those things.
That's true. Even he mentioned very important things like our youth. How do you orient them to come to the agriculture during they are very young? That's very important.
And then because before the program, he even said, how can you have a farmer on a program like this where you speak English? Farmers are not meant
They are not meant to speak English.
Exactly. So, sometimes...
No, it's very true, because what we mean to see, farming at this time, you have no time to learn well because you are always busy. And then even what he mentioned, like the irrigation systems, I think is very poor. We need a lot. And then
I said this time that there's only one engineer.
This time should be, it's very easy because the high power is going to the up. You can get there even the current engineer and use it without even the solar system is very easy. I think should be very easy irrigation system. And then I don't hear Nordbank and others. I hear only CRR.
No, CRR is just an example that I took. He was trying
what I think I want to hear, because we are a seven region. Of course, I want to mention all the regions. And then I want to ask him about the cold storage, because the last year we have had so many problems about our crops. Even the tomatoes and other horticultures are going to be spoiled. Well, I
know Minister will respond to that now. I mean, these are the storage facilities. I mean, these are things that farmers will always talk about when the president goes on a nationwide tour. Seeds, fertilizer, storage facilities. Right. I mean,
well, thank you very much for bringing that. Now that we've addressed the fertilizer, it's clear we've addressed the plowing and then the seeds and all especially the seeds. This year, for the first time, we are giving out beans and for free. We're giving out groundnuts. Of course, not enough. It's about 30 metric tons, but also for free. All this is to encourage farming. But just to help Mr. Njai, I use CRR as an example because I was talking about rice farmers. But all this, if you go to Kerewan today, they are doing the seed distribution. So all these seeds that we mentioned, they are free in North Bank. In fact, they are free in Banjul. We have a unit called Urban Agriculture. So even if you have a small space in Kanifing or you have a small space in Fajara, you should be able to get seeds and cultivate what you want to cultivate. Because we want to get people to understand that even on your story building, you can have a space there and put some maize there. So yeah, all the regions, North Bank, LRR, West Coast, KM, see, all the regions are covered.
But I want to ask you something for that. So how about those seeds So you will buy again if you produce again, if you produce it already?
No, actually, there are recognized seed growers association, because growing seed and growing a grain is different.
Okay.
What you harvest when it was being prepared to be seed is different from what you harvest for food. So there are recognized seed growers association. They are Gambians. That is, those are the people that we source these things from. That's where the ministry buys from, and they already know their arrangement. But coming back to the cold storages that you talked about, our project GAFSIP is into about school feeding. You'll be surprised that it is the Ministry of Agriculture through GAFSIP project that is feeding 87 schools, which is about 122,000 children. They are being fed by GAFSIP on a daily basis, and we want to make the school feeding program to be sourcing from our local people. And that is why we have about 10 community poultries and 15 school poultry projects. But the most important part is GAFSIP is supporting 25 women gardens. And part of their support is each of these women gardens will have a solar-powered cold storage in the garden itself. So that is going to address this issue of post-harvest loss. Let's say our tomatoes, our onions. And these gardens, we have about 25 nationwide, but just few of them, like Fas. You know, there's one in Fas, in North Bank. Since you like me to mention North Bank, so I'll start with Fas. So in West Coast, we have Faraba, we have Kallaji, and in LRR, we have Buiba. All these gardens are going to have cold storage facilities within the garden perimeter itself. I think that is going to handle that. And the school feeding program, they have in school poultry, and they'll be sourcing chicken from the school poultry itself. And the community garden in that same village, the school feeding program now will be sourcing from that specific garden. That way there is market, because market has always also been a challenge for the farmers. Exactly. So we are looking at it holistically.
And Minister, just this morning I read on the papers, the government, of course, through the Giraffe project has procured an assortment of climate smart seeds, worth over $21 million. Briefly tell us about this. We're running out of time. Briefly tell us about this.
In fact, those were the seeds that I mentioned earlier. Giraffe project has procured 150 metric tons of seed. And these seeds, they can be used in lowland, that's the rice field. They can be used in upland. They are also, like I said, salt tolerant, flood resistance and all that. They also procured the 100 metric tons of maize seeds. And as long as we don't have enough maize in this country, we cannot have a mature chicken industry. We can never be self-sufficient in our poultry. That is why we are stressing on the need to have as much maize as possible, because it's a greater component of our chicken feed. Also, not only the maize being early maturing, but it's very high yield. So I'll encourage farmers to use those seeds. Not only are they free, but they also yield a lot more. So they will encourage them to transition. But again, like I said, we are giving beans from the GAFSIP, we are giving groundnut. All these seeds are for free, and they are all high yield, salt tolerant, flood tolerant. So there are a lot of advantages for transitioning. So one of the challenges, apart from the urban migration, is also our farmers themselves, resistant to new technologies and new ideas. That's transition into, let's say, this kind of seeds instead of using their local seeds.
And certainly when you talk about agriculture, people only talk about farming. Earlier you talked about the livestock policy. As we speak, so many people are complaining about the hike in the price of rams, Tabaski period. Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks to His Excellency President Barrow, this Tabaski, 2023 Tabaski as we speak, the Sumo Ruminant project with the Department of Livestock Service and Gilma, they released $900,000, which is about $56 million, for ram dealers to be able to access short-term loans from the Islamic microfinance institutions to go across and get us as much rams as possible, coupled with the production wrap-up that we have locally, so that it can be affordable. Yes, we are all aware of the safer hike of recent that may give an explanation. But for us as a ministry, our primary worry is increasing production and availability. Then the sister ministries like trade and others can now come in and play the price issue. But our primary focus is to make sure it is available to every Gambian. And I think with this support, the ram dealers have accessed finance loans, and they brought in as much rams as possible.
Mr. Jai, seems you wanted to say something?
That's true. Even I say very true for what he has mentioned about the ram. even if you go to the market to buy ram, you will say, no, hari mom duñ mësa jeex ren.
Da nga Barrow Kunda ak ndawal. Da nga President Barrow Kunda ak
That's a fantastic, and then it's very true. Even I mentioned him during our meeting at the State House. I saw lot of rams in the market because even in our village, the rams are there from the government. Some areas 70 ram and others. That's a big support, and it's a good support.
So what should we do to change the status quo where we have to depend on rams coming from Senegal for such festive period?
In fact, I think he already started to talk about, because what we are doing as a ministry is to build breeding schemes. Okay. And we have a lot of them. One of them is in their village. Okay. And this year alone, 15 of the breeding schemes, we gave them each 70 rams for free.
Oh.
And their role was to create as much multiplication as possible. And I think 15 schemes by 70, that's about 1,050 rams. And this is just for this year alone. And that is for them to pick it up from here and develop the production. But also we've developed about 30 breeding schemes. And the fattening schemes are separate from the breeding schemes. And this is supposed to help us get as much rams as possible. Also the introduction of pasture. We have these free seeds that are available at the ministry and the small ruminant project, because the greatest challenge to raising as much rams as possible is the cost of feed.
That's true.
We want to tackle that by giving you seeds that you grow. You will grow your pasture in just a small area, even in your home here in Combo, that your rams, you can raise them in your home and they'll feed from that pasture year round. And it is very fast growing. It is high energy crop, and it's going to be there for free. You don't even need to water it. It will always grow. So we've distributed that nationwide, and we think that is going to help.
It seems we're running out of time, but finally, just on the 20 seconds.
I want to ask you something. So how many tons of coos and maize and granite do they decide to buy for next year?
All right.
Yeah, well, we will leave the prices and the amount for what we are going to buy next year when it gets close, because we cannot say this is going to be the price of groundnut or this is going to be the price of coos next year. Let's worry about producing as much as possible, and then when it comes to the pricing, we will then
exactly. Yes, Honorable. Just finally, under 1 minute, I mean, what will you describe as key challenges for your ministry, and also where do you see this sector in the next 2 years or 3 years to come?
Well, the challenges, I will read them, and I'll start with land. Like I said, land access is a problem, and we need to fix that. Funding, I think we have discussed that. The aging of our farmers, we have discussed that. Also, grazing pastures. You know, traditional areas where they are identified for cattle, sheep, and goat, they've all been built up, and, you know, grazing land is no longer respected. Even in the provinces, they were mapped out. They were marked. And also, we have cheap import. Let's say the onions and some, they are highly subsidized from the countries they are coming from. And because they are highly subsidized there, because they are a developed economy, it's tough for us to compete them. So if you want to bring a bag of onion and sell it at 500 from another country or 700, it will cost you more to produce that same bag in the Gambia. So it will discourage our farmers. So the cheap onions, not onion, but import, I challenge. But of course, climate change. Climate change, let's say flood. This year we had a lot. Last year we did irregular patterns, a lot of wildfires. Animals are starved. But again, the salt intrusion with the climate change. And also climate change brings around a lot of traditional diseases have been here, like the PPR. So mostly, since there is no time, these are our challenges. But the main one is land. And I think there is need for land reform and land tenure system, so that young people can access land for agriculture. I think that will be very helpful.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, the Gambia's Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Demba Sabel. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And Mr. Njai, Modou Njai, Secretary General of the Gambia's Farmers Union, I thank you so much for accepting to be here on this program. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to this week's edition of the State of Affairs program. I was your host, Aloy Cisse. Do join us next week. Until then, have a happy Eid. Bye-bye.